Now, we've talked about microneedling on the show many times before, but never quite like this. We're about to see a procedure most commonly associated with facials, but it's now being used to anti-age the vagina. In a moment, I'll introduce you properly to Dr. Shirin and Corinna, but first of all, let's chat to Dr. Zoe. Now, people tend to think about this treatment because they use the word rejuvenation.
Yes.
But it isn't a cosmetic procedure.
Well, vaginal rejuvenation really encompasses people having this procedure for cosmetic reasons, which some people will, but also there are many symptoms and medical conditions that it can potentially be used for as well. And we're going to meet Corinna in a bit, and she's got a diagnosis of a medical condition for which it's being used. But what I think is interesting, you know, as you mentioned just then, we've talked about needling for our faces, and that seems to be accepted and talked about, yet most people won't know that this exists. And it really highlights the issue that there's so much stigma still and not enough research when it comes to conditions that only affect women.
Well, it's also using terminology like to anti-age your vagina. What does that actually mean?
Well, you know, as we age, all of our bodies, all of our tissues deteriorate a bit, things sag. But when we're talking about our vagina, when we reach the age of perimenopause and menopause, the decline in oestrogen has additional effects. It means that the structure of the vaginal canal is affected, the vagina is less able to lubricate itself. People have a whole host of symptoms that they can experience from the menopause. That ranges from discomfort, inability to have sex, recurrent UTIs, prolapse of their pelvic organs, and all of these symptoms have pretty much been ignored for a very long time. Whilst they all individually have various different treatments that are available on the NHS, I think the search for new treatments, we should always be proactively looking for that. And then there's a skin condition, which we'll hear about today, that this procedure can help with as well.
But this isn't on the NHS, because in actual fact, this treatment at the moment is incredibly expensive.
It is incredibly expensive, and therefore, you know, that's a bit unfair because only people who can afford it will be able to go ahead and have it. And, you know, some of the small studies that have been done have shown that it can be highly effective for things like bladder weakness. 1 in 3 women above the age of 35 will experience bladder weakness. So it's really, really common, and people might be shocked to hear that because we're just not talking about it. So, you know, my hope is that if this procedure, if the studies are able to be done, the grand-scale studies that we need in order to get approval for things like this to be used in the NHS can be done to prove that it's safe and effective, maybe in the future we will see something like this available on the NHS.
We were talking actually to Dr. Samir yesterday about incontinence and how much of an effect, a negative effect, it has on people's lives. So it does make a massive difference. Is it safe, though? Or is there any danger to it? Or
Well, this procedure that we're going to look at today, from the small studies that have been done by medically trained professionals, it appears that it is safe. I think one word of warning that I always give, we're going to meet Dr. Shirin. She's a GP. She's been doing procedures like this for a long time. She's an expert in it. So I wouldn't have concerns about one of my patients going to see her. But if we start seeing these procedures cropping up in, you know, hairdressing salons, nail salons, and being done by people who aren't appropriately trained and they're not medical professionals or healthcare professionals, then I would be concerned, because if not used properly, any form of medical equipment can cause harm. But used in the right way, it could be very beneficial. It's safe. You can never say anything's completely safe until those grand-scale studies have been done. But, you know, it's probably a question for Dr. Shirin as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's chat to Dr. Shirin now. She's a GP and a fully trained aesthetic physician from Elite Aesthetics, who offers this procedure privately. She's joined by Corinna Donn, who's had a course of the procedure before to help treat symptoms of her autoimmune condition. She's going to be having another treatment with us today. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
ladies.
morning.
Lovely to see you. Good morning. Let's start with you, Dr. Shirin. Can you tell me how you met Corinna and why she's having this treatment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I first met Corinna probably about 18 months, slightly longer ago. She was referred to me by a colleague who's a menopause nurse because she was having some major issues with her vulva. Now, Corinna suffers from a condition called lichen sclerosis, which is believed to be autoimmune, although they can't say for certain because there's not been enough research on it. It's a condition that affects genital skin, and it can really affect someone's quality of life. So, for example, in the vulva, it can cause itching, burning sensation, it can cause fissures and tears as well, and it can cause fusion of the labia. So it can really affect a woman's quality of life.
And it really did affect your life, didn't it, Corinna?
Yeah, it did.
And that's kind of one of the reasons why you're here today, because what you're doing is incredibly brave.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, it really is.
If I could do this live on TV, then there's ladies who've got any issues, they can get themselves to a doctor as soon as the slightest tingle and get themselves sorted, and that's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
It just really breaks my heart to know that women suffer, and the NHS, unfortunately, aren't able to help you at the moment. I went through a lot of years of being fobbed off and painful biopsies and misdiagnosis, and very lucky to have found a pioneering person. HRT has Davina McCall and NS has Dr. Shirin, so, you know, I was lucky.
And it's always that moment when you find somebody who you can talk to, who you can relate to, who you can tell, and it helps so much.
She's amazing. You know, I went in there talking about my lady garden, and now I talk about my vulva. And, you know, I think we've got to reframe the narrative around our sexual health in a better, more clear and concise way. I was on a dog walk the other day, and three strange women have got symptoms to me, but they haven't gone to see a doctor.
Yeah.
It just breaks my heart, guys. Go and see a doctor. You don't have to suffer. Ageing doesn't have to be painful.
Yeah. So, Dr. Shirin, tell me about the machine. What are you going to do?
So, this handpiece I've got here, this is the Morpheus 8V, which is radiofrequency microneedling. Morpheus 8 is really well known for face and body treatment.
Yes, but it really hurts on your face.
Yes,
too.
but it's not the same in the vaginal canal.
Right.
Because you don't have the same nerve receptors in the vagina that you do on the face. It's actually much less painful, really tolerable treatment. It's slightly more painful on the external tissues.
Okay.
Because they've got more nerve endings, but internally it really doesn't hurt.
And can I ask you a question about that?
Go on,
because we're looking at the wand there. Can you show us where do the needles come out?
So the needles come out here. And
Right.
if I actually just press on here, they're really, really fine.
Right.
And they're tiny, so...
And Corinna's been numbed, hasn't she?
Corinna's been numbed as well, so that adds to the comfort.
So do you want to start and carry on, because then she can start going
Brilliant.
Doing your treatment.
Yeah.
Because what I was interested in knowing is, because that's where the needles... Corinna's condition is actually a vulval condition. It affects the skin on the external.
So you can use the same probe externally as well.
OK, so you're doing externally just now.
Yeah, you can do external and internal. I'm actually going to start with the internal treatment.
Okay.
The internal one helps with the quality of the vaginal tissue, as we were saying, that degrades with age and with menopause and also with childbirth. So this stimulates collagen and elastin into the tissue. By introducing the needles, you stimulate collagen and elastin, you improve the quality of the tissue, and you can treat a whole range of conditions.
Which is amazing. We've actually got a graphic to help everybody at home understand as well. Can you talk us through a little bit there, Doctor? Oh, I see. Okay. And so basically they're rejuvenating the tissues. And how long will this last for? Will she have to come back for multiple treatments?
So with Corinna, we've treated her vaginal symptoms as well as her lichen sclerosis symptoms.
Right.
She had an initial course of 3 treatments, spaced 4 to 6 weeks apart. And it's been a year since the last treatment. So this is actually her maintenance treatment to just keep everything healthy.
OK.
With the maintenance, it's just a single treatment done annually.
OK.
So you don't have to do
only once a year?
Only once a year.
And how does it feel, Corinna?
It's fine. The weirdest part of it is obviously doing it in
Yeah,
a studio.
and it's been very strange, I know.
Most of you get to do it in a private clinic. But yes, that's the weirdest part of it. Afterwards, it's a bit like having sunburn. And you may get a bit intimate with a packet of frozen peas.
And what about the cost? Because people will want to know what it costs.
So obviously cost varies according to location, but you're looking in the region of about £1,000 for each treatment of Morpheus 8V.
Right. Right, so that's £3,000 if you're going to do the initial...
Yeah, you can get discounts for doing a course of 3.
Yeah.
So it is really pricey, but the thing is, it's really, really effective. I wish treatments like this were available on the NHS.
Do you think they will be in the future?
That would be great, wouldn't it?
I'd like to say yes, but in reality, with the lack of funding and the traditional lack of interest in research in women's health issues, I'm sceptical.
Because would it be fair to say, or is this overblowing it, that for women who have issues with pelvic prolapse, for example, who may be looking at potentially surgery, that this treatment would, for some women, prevent them having to have surgery?
Possibly. So the great thing about this device is it's not just got the Morpheus 8 on it, it's got other technologies. And one of the good things on here is electrical muscle stimulation. It's called the V-tone.
Yeah.
So that's I'll show you the probe, actually. I've got one here.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So
Is that a little bit like,
probe.
you know, when people put those machines on their abs that do 1,000 sit-ups? Is it a bit like that for your vagina?
This is for your pelvic floor. So
Right.
this probe inserts into the vagina. It directly stimulates the pelvic floor. It's equivalent to doing about 30,000 Kegels in a 30-minute session.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's a really powerful way to strengthen the pelvic floor. And for women with laxity and pelvic floor dysfunction, you can combine the two treatments and get really good results.
Absolutely brilliant. How long will the rest of this treatment take?
So the entire treatment takes about 20 minutes or so to do internal and external.
Yeah.
But the results in someone like Corinna, who's got lichen sclerosis, are phenomenal because it actually improves the tissue quality.
Yes.
I've had patients who've had the treatment with me who weren't able to have intercourse before, and actually a couple of them have gone on to have pregnancies after treatment.
Oh, that's lovely news, isn't it?
When we say this is life-changing for women, it's not about vanity, it's about their quality of life and their relationship.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us this morning, Corinna. Thank you. You're
you.
amazing. And thank you, Dr. Zoe.
Thank
That
you.
was
Hello.
brilliant.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.